And we live. Good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome. It's time for another episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And tonight's topic is DevOps career progressions, roles, and opportunities. Thank you so much for finding some time this evening to join me. And please don't forget to introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversations with your questions and comments. Or at least as usual, please just say hi in the comments so we know that you're here. Otherwise, we don't know that you're here. So if you forgot, I'm Jana Martins. I'm currently working in IT consultancy, and I'm passionate about learning more about the present and future of the IT industry, and obviously sharing it with you on this channel. So again, tonight we're going to talk about DevOps career progressions, roles, and opportunities. And Anton and Trent are going to share their DevOps journey, their tips, their challenges, and their wins during their career, and also give you some tips. Before I'll pass it over to the guys to introduce themselves, I just want to quickly remind you that we're streaming live, as usual, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you miss a stream, obviously no worries. You can watch the replay by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And also, I do encourage you to join my meetup group because you can easily get notifications for the upcoming events there, because I'm going live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time. And we talk about various topics about job search, IT career progressions, transitions, and in and outs of IT industry in Australia. So I encourage you to ask as many questions as you want, but please stay on the topic. We're talking about DevOps career, not any other career tonight. So please, ask as many questions as you want, but stay on the topic. And if you won't have time to answer all the questions, we can definitely take some offline. And remember, there is a giveaway at the end for most active participants as well. So we have few people joining us. Thank you for saying hi. James is here. David is here. Hanimisha is here. Gunjan is here. Shabham is here. Thank you so much for saying hi. That's great to see. Ben is here, especially for Anton. Here we go. You see, we have some fans in the audience. It's always good to have fans, Anton. Sorry, I can't read your name, but thank you for joining us. I know, Hirinta, thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And I'll pass it on to guys to introduce themselves. We'll start with Anton, since he has some fans here. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
All right, great. Can you hear me all right, team? Doing great?
Yes.
Nice. So thanks for having me here. My name is Anton Vishnyakov. Currently, I'm a senior engineer and manager for Calls Digital. Been doing a lot of things in software engineering, DevOps, some in the SharePoint and the Microsoft space. Really excited to be here. And yeah, the best way to think about us, or maybe Calls Digital, calls.com.au, the website, and two awesome mobile apps for Android and for iOS. That's basically us. And I'll pass that to Trent.
Thank you.
Cool. Hey, I'm Trent. I am a senior platform engineer in the Calls Digital team, one of Anton's underlings or minions. You can pick. Kind of come from a bit of a sysadmin background, but moved into the web DevOps space. So have a strong passion for doing as little work as possible through automations and making things clean and done for me in the right way. So it's kind of a bit about me.
Perfect. Don't we all like to do less work and just make sure everything else is automated? I'm just still waiting when all my streams will be automated so I can just rock up at 5:30 and that's it. Will be perfect.
ChatGPT.
So quite a few people saying hi. Thank you so much, guys. Xavier here. Avi is here. I love YouTube names. One more hair. Shoei is here. And some more people. Thank you so much, guys, for saying hi. It means a lot to me. So it means that you're listening and ready to ask the questions. Thank you so much for saying hi. So we'll start with so we're talking about obviously DevOps career today. So we'll start with the most obvious question. And I'll ask guys just briefly talk about their DevOps journey. Yeah. So how did you start? How did you move? So just give us a little bit idea, how it worked out for you. We'll start with Trent.
Cool. Yep. So I actually started somewhat non-traditionally in that I started off my career as a sysadmin. While I was doing sysadmin, of course, straight out of high school type thing. Extra keen for some more cash, so I started doing some web dev as well. So kind of through those two skills, progressed up to the point of becoming a sysadmin, but always doing scripting and trying to basically make my job as streamlined as possible. My general philosophy is the less I have to manually do, the more I can do the fun stuff. So always been passionate about that until eventually I landed myself at KPMG, found the world of DevOps engineering, and basically, hey, turns out I can make a career out of scripting things. And so that's kind of how it really started. That was my first entry into it, working primarily with Azure. Look, it was honestly just the chance of working on what I like doing, which is scripting, automation, trying to find ways of making tasks repeatable through code. That then led me to infrastructure as code, and down the wonderful rabbit hole of all these DevOps things. So a lot of it actually came from extracurricular activities and just trying to find areas in work where I can actually apply my scripts. The first job out of KPMG and the next one was into Coles, my first time around, in the core team, in the DevOps world, working on pipelines, creating the core infrastructure for the rest of the team. Went to another company where I was actually doing more SRE type work, and working through that. Spent a fair bit of time trying to learn my way through Kubernetes. Actually found that time was really helpful, being on the front lines, because you learn a lot more about how an application and platform works by having to support the thing. So you can learn a lot by sitting there and creating the core infrastructure, but until you're sitting on the front line and you're having to try and dig through code, in a production environment to figure out what's going on, it's actually learned a lot about the DevOps processes and why it really pays to make sure all your processes are streamlined, tested, quality control. All those things are actually really important. You're checking for risks and security. So it's actually the second time now I'm back at Coles in the Coles digital team. That experience in kind of doing the platform engineering and DevOps engineering has shaped the way that I view those things. So, now it's like approaching the DevOps tasks and pipelines with multi-factors of not just get the thing done, but automate it in a way that's safe, secure, reliable, not going to crash, you're not going to take out production, anything like that. So that's kind of how I got to where I am. I don't know if you want to be more brief or you want to expand on that, but yeah.
Let's I guess let's stop here, and we're gonna dive more into the details. But basically, I guess in a nutshell, you move from the system admin to DevOps.
Yes.
If we simplify your career path.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was what is journey. And then what about you? How did you start, and how did you move to more DevOps career?
Well, I don't know, by incident, all right? So it's interesting. I've got I've got degree in the physics. My degree.
Well, and then we have a bit of an echo.
Physics, lasers.
We have a bit of an echo, maybe from your headphones. Trent, can you hear that echo as well?
Hello.
It sounds robotic, but not echoey.
A bit of a background noise. Guys who's listening to us YouTube, can you hear the noise as well? Yeah, so your voice is breaking. And then maybe we have to disconnect your headphones. We've been having a bit of a technical things today. Try again.
All right, let's try it again.
Yeah, perfect. Yes.
Much better.
Fantastic. Let's blame internet provider. I'm not gonna say which one I use. We are on live. Anyhow, so I've got a little bit different story comparing to Trent, because basically I got in IT by a pure incident. My degree is fundamental physics, radio physics, lasers, that kind of scientific stuff. And then at some point I had a course in programming language. Back in the day it was C++, and then it just unfolded. I just absolutely loved that one, and then got into software engineering. Did .NET. I started with a .NET back in the day, .NET and the C#. At some point, I moved into a little bit more of infrastructure. I had a fair share of Microsoft and the SharePoint journey. That's why Ben is here in the comments, and we know each other, and we know a lot of people in that community. But then at some point, I kind of decided to go back to my engineering and software engineering roots. And then by that time, cloud happened in Australia. And so I just happened to be maybe in the right place in the right time and completely moved into Asia. Cloud, Microsoft, people started talking about DevOps, which back in the day used to be automation, made sense to me. And yeah, everything's been working across different companies, doing primarily automation across cloud and Asia, a little bit AWS, Kubernetes, and you name it.
Yeah, perfect. So what do you say, guys? Is there any... So obviously there is career pathways to DevOps through like infrastructure and system administration. And there is also the way to get in DevOps from the software engineering and from coding background. So what do you think? Is there any typical career path with DevOps? Do you think that it's more people coming from the software engineering background or more people from the sysadmin background? Like, what do you think? What is there any typical DevOps career progression that exists? Trent, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm happy to start on that one. I feel like there's not really a typical. If I was to say give you one, I would say that it probably is more typical to come from that sysadmin or more that ops background, just purely because of the nature of the scripting and the that type of work. It tends to draw those people. It's just kind of, it's a bit of a natural progression point from sysadmin because you know the systems well to go into that. With the cloud, it's slightly changed that a bit as software, you know, everything being as code, it actually does tie quite nicely into software development and that sort of thing. I feel like it's more common for software developers to almost dabble in DevOps. And so it's like they're a software developer who can do DevOps. You know, they can write pipelines, they can work with it. But I feel like on the software development side, they typically end up dabbling more, whereas the sysadmins are the ones who tend to move. That is their thing. They are a DevOps engineer. That's just my opinion on it.
So, Anton, what do you think? Do you agree with Trent on this one?
Well, yeah, it's definitely probably hard to disagree. I definitely see a big pocket coming from admin background, ops background, you name it, right? We used to be on premises, nowadays cloud. That's how you transition, right? Used to be running systems in production, again, moving to cloud and increasing velocity of deployments, increasing velocity of delivering new features. And again, that's how you stumble upon that one. But then there are a couple of other pockets, security as well. So it's not uncommon to have security intersecting with both worlds, whether dev or ops. And unavoidably, you're looking into that automation pocket. Let's think about data engineering as well. We also got pocket of data pipelines, data engineering problems coming this way. And basically anything what requires pretty aggressive, maybe daily, maybe weekly deployment and delivering in the production, that's unavoidably gonna raise that kind of platform engineering, DevOps conversation. So yeah, you can start from basically any starting point and then get into this circle. I think it's going to be matter of kind of which side you're going to get in from, but the end destination going to be the same.
And look, you already touched on like, you know, different starting points and that comes to the same destination. But if we're talking about, you know, different kind of DevOps roles, yeah. So obviously, like a DevOps engineer role could be quite different in different organizations as well. And also there is a cloud engineer, platform engineer, SRE. Like what do you think? Like if you need to define those roles, what are the difference? And is all of them DevOps? Is the cloud engineer a DevOps engineer? Like how would you put these roles into some sort of structure? And then you're already here. Maybe you start, and we'll pick on Trent later.
That's going to be a difficult one. There's no right or wrong answer here, right? When we look into the definition of DevOps by Microsoft, by Amazon, they probably define that as a union of tools, processes, and the people, and constantly doesn't make sense. All right, but then on the other side, you've got market unavoidably hiring for DevOps engineers, looking for outcomes. So from my kind of learning and experience, that's very contextual. Depends on the company, depends on the problem to solve, depends on the maturity level, right? In a small startup, or in a scale up, right? Or maybe in a big organization or enterprise organization, right? What are the problems looking for? And then consequently looking for that particular DevOps engineer or platform or cloud. It's kind of like same thing across the board, and you get different flavor, which is driven again by the problems which companies want to solve right now or maybe in the near future. So that's probably going to be the best takeaway which I can give.
Yeah. Trent, what about you? Like, do you agree, or you have a bit of a other definition of those roles?
Look, I do tend to have a bit more of a, in my head at least, a bit more defined definition of them. I kind of see the three DevOps, SRE, and kind of cloud engineering as three different streams that kind of then lead up to a fourth tangent being the platform engineer. So I view SRE is predominantly basically make sure things don't go boom. So the whole act of monitoring, responding to incidents, making sure the right people are there in the calls, basically the little fireman running around with his little extinguisher, which is a really important part of the component. Cloud engineering is much more of the ops, almost like the people who sit in the middle of it, configure the virtual machines, the web apps, Lambdas in whatever platform you're on. And they're very specialist. They're very good at what they do in the cloud. So if you need to know, should I use data lake or storage accounts, they're probably the people to speak to. Just very good expertise in their cloud of choice. Then you've got the DevOps, who typically, in my head, in the way that I view it at least, their job is to make sure the code gets from the developer's laptop to wherever it's going, be it Kubernetes, a cloud, anything like that. And then making sure that it doesn't break on the way through, that it's all tested, all clean of code, security, everything like that's considered, and preferably in as automated fashion and pipelined as possible. And then you've got the fourth one is platform engineering, which is kind of a culmination of all of them without being any of them. Now, that makes no sense, but what I mean by that is you need to do a bit of all of it. It is the idea of making all of those things, so the three other parts, self-service. So the platform engineer's job is to make DevOps, hey, here's a pipeline template with all of the security and checks in place that we need. Here's a Terraform module that has all of your infrastructure provisioned with the professionalism it's being consulted on with the cloud engineers. And also, here's some alerts that will make sure that your application is not crashing. And so it's the concept of taking the three other professions and then kind of self-servicing them. So that's how I'd split them into the little buckets. So
for you, basically, platform engineer, it's something more broad.
Yeah, it's more broad. It doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert on all three. By all means, I may be a platform engineer, but on my daily thing, I am constantly consulting with people I think are far smarter than me in those separate areas. But it's the culmination of the three and then being able to pull those opinions back and make them self-service and operate across them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, actually, guys, who's listening to us. What do you think? That's how do you like the Trent's classification? So maybe you have a different one. So would love to hear your comments. We have a lot of questions, guys, coming through. Nimisha is asking, what would be the vertical progression roles for the DevOps engineer in IT industry? So I guess, Trent, you already kind of start defining a bit of different roles. Maybe we'll just continue. What is into your mind that vertical progression for the DevOps engineer plus the Anton drop off anyway?
Yeah. So I guess you've got there are certainly roles I'd argue are junior, progressions on your way towards DevOps. And then there are ones that are kind of progressions from DevOps and where DevOps can go into. So when you're first getting started with DevOps, it's a bit of an interesting catch-all terminology, and it really does change a lot from company to company. In some companies, a DevOps engineer will be someone who sits in a core team, working through pipelines and solving these complex problems. In other teams, it will be part of your job where you're a software engineer by day, by night, you're trying to convert all of your, clicky ops stuff to pipelines and making sure everything's working correctly. So the vertical progression really is you can really start from anywhere. And if you have an interest in getting into DevOps, then just starting to work on the DevOps platform is a really good way. So it's just basically any career. If you have an interest in DevOps, is just start working in it and see what opportunities arise. As for the verticals beyond the DevOps stuff, I'd argue there is an argument to be made that platform engineers are next to, and there's some that are above it. It just depends on the organization. So one of the verticals would be to take on a role where you are trying to automate the entire DevOps system. So instead of working within your pipelines for your particular team, is working on pipelines for the broader area of your team or for the company itself. It really does go, from there. You can also start getting into very niche areas. So you can start working on, DevOps pipelines in particular industries. The verticals really do tend to just be similar things with doctors, in that you've got a doctor will then become specialized in either, become a neurosurgeon or become osteopath, or no, that's a terrible example, so you're a doctor. But you get the thing, right? You become different types of doctors. In the same way, DevOps, you can become different specialties, either cloud-based, there is still on-prem. There's also many other things, so you can actually even do consulting, and solution architecture is quite common. Sorry, I talked a lot there. You're muted.
Here you go. That's what's happened. That multitasking, unmuting. So you already touched on that, but I guess, do you think are there any like industry specific or niche DevOps roles that are particularly promising for career advancement? So something that you would recommend people to focus, that they will always have some a bit more opportunities.
Yeah, so definitely the two that I'd say are probably the most promising right now and the least likely to go away would be retail and banking. They're two of the things that people always want to store their money somewhere. People always want to buy food. So they're the two industries that are the most solid out of all of them, and you're going to have the most thing, particularly with the finance as well. Once you have a grasp on the financial thing, if you do see it is quite easy to then move around, and it is quite stable, because gaining that initial bit of knowledge is one of the more difficult things. Once you've got it, once you have an understanding of how the systems work and the regulations and the kind of the frameworks that you have to sit in and be careful of, it's actually quite a good path and quite stable.
Yeah. I guess there is quite a few banks here.
Quite a few banks, and the big ones, they're always, they have the occasional layoffs, but typically they're quite stable. And because of their nature, they're quite slow moving. And so they're actually quite good for career progression, because you can really sit there and make a little name for yourself and carve out a space.
Yep. Here we go. And Anton's back. Don't we like going live? It's always so unpredictable. Yeah. Anton, we have a question especially for you, while you were away. Shubhan is asking, which platform is more in demand or popular when it comes to DevOps? AWS, Google, or Azure? Here we go. Try not to be biased when answering this question. So, and do you think that if people specialize in any particular cloud,
that's going to be very opinionated answer, right? Big enterprises in the government definitely go with the Microsoft. Let's kind of.
Oh no, we're not having luck with Anton today. Trent, you have to, answer all the questions.
I feel like I can answer this question on behalf of Anton, because I know exactly what he's going to say.
Yes, please.
Anton is very passionate. So, he's back. Do I let him go? Anton, you dropped off. You want to go again?
He's like, no.
No. All right. Tell me if this was going to be pretty much your answer. So yeah, government, big companies will tend to stick with Azure probably more often, purely because they're Azure AD the integration with their existing permissions and systems is just, it will be pretty much there. AWS tends to be for startups or for companies who don't really rely on Azure AD, kind of more modern-ish stuff. GCP is typically for people who either just run Kubernetes or people who have obscene amounts of data, like just mind-boggling amounts of data that they need to crunch and do stuff, because that's really what they specialize in. It's popular is really hard because it depends on the industry and the company. Every company will have, every company will have their own preferences. The only recommendation I would say is really do try and become specialist in one or two. You can never become a master of all three or four if you throw in like Alibaba Cloud or anything like that. Like you just can't. Like your brain is just not going to do that. So pick one to be your specialty. Maybe have one as a backup and just really try and learn that and just become like really solid in those areas.
Would you recommend also start with one cloud, or like maybe in the beginning try to do each of them and then decide which one you like the most? Or it is hard to say.
It's hard to say. It really depends on. So typically, what you'll want to do is pick one. AWS and Azure would be my two that I'd recommend. Pick one of those. They're much of a muchness. Azure, again, will just be big businesses and typically banks and government places. AWS, if you like the fast-paced startup life. So if you relate to one of those two things, like if you relate to one of those areas, you can really pick those. GCP, if you're a Kubernetes guy or like data, but I would probably not recommend as much to start on GCP unless your company's already working with that.
Yeah. And then are you still with us? Do you want to try to talk without the camera and see that if that's going to work? Maybe not. We'll hope that Anton will come back to us. Trent, there is a really specific question. So let's see if you have some insights here. Mohammed is asking, I love to hear about any integration methodologies between SAP ERP software and DevOps with the cloud platform interface. If any such software integration exists, I'm a sub-basis HANA consultant. Do you have
I can't say
around
I've
that?
worked directly with that. I've had to work with systems and managing systems that do interface with SAP, but less on the actual integration from a DevOps side of it. So I can't probably add much to that, unfortunately. It's a very niche question, sorry.
Yeah, so maybe, if Anton's back, maybe he can add something, or, we can take those questions offline as well. So there is a few more questions. How a self-taught developer like me to start a career as a DevOps? Need some roadmap. So what would be your... Yes, we haven't really spoken about any sort of courses or certifications or anything like that. Like, do you have any suggestions where to start?
Yeah, so look, as a self-taught developer, I can give you some confidence in that's myself as well. So I was completely self-taught. Honestly, one of the better ways of actually getting started and for a roadmap is to just start trying to find ways of just starting. So if in your current job, there's a task, for example, the way that I first got into DevOps was at KPMG. There was a task I was given to manually onboard something like 3,000 users into a system because the API that did it in batch was not working. And so they were like, okay, create 2,000 users. And they wanted me to do it manually. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's a lot of work. No. And so I wrote a script that would take all those users, put them in and validate that they're all created. And so a task that I think I was given 3 weeks to do was done in half a day. And so honestly, in order to get started, in order to just get doing it, is examples like that where you find a task that can be automated and just start doing it. Start writing your scripts, start trying to figure out ways to solve real problems with your coding. So odds are people who are self-taught will have their little projects. Typically, you've got your Hello World web page going. You've got your application that you've written on your computer or something to that. Find ways of figuring out a problem at your workplace and use your script and your coding to actually solve that problem. And then look to how you can put that in a pipeline. Look at how you can give that to other people to let them use that same script. That's a really good way of actually getting started and getting into it, is just getting practice, making a script and then making it so others can use it as well. Yeah.
Anton is kind of back. Should we try to
Fingers crossed.
to ask him if he wants to add anything to this question, or it's not gonna work? Oh, we're still hoping, but I mean, maybe Anton, you can try to switch off your camera and only do the microphone and see if that's gonna work.
At least
But
he looks
at
really
least
happy.
it makes it makes the stream interesting, I guess. Okay, so I actually, Trent, just on top of that question that we sort of just discussed, what about some particular certifications or courses? Like, would you recommend any particular, start with any particular certifications?
Yeah, so certifications, I actually don't believe that certifications are a great starting point. Certifications are great once you're starting to get a bit of a foothold and you're starting to build a bit more expertise. What they really allow you to do is one of two things. They prove to yourself, and they're almost like proof that, yes, I do actually know what I'm talking about. I'm not just making all this up. The other thing is it provides a way for you to just learn those extra things. So the certifications themselves is just proof that you know the stuff, but the training courses on the way, they're just a really good way of making sure that you've covered all those building blocks. Oftentimes developers can get caught kind of getting a little bit too siloed and too pigeonholed into, I'm learning about Azure Web Apps. None of the other parts, just Azure Web Apps. I know everything about the web apps, but nothing about storage accounts. And so, like, for example, the Azure Fundamentals is actually a really good course if you can do it, to learn how to do, those fundamental building blocks. The Terraform exam as well, for those who know what that is, infrastructure as code. That was actually a really good, training point and reference point to understand the different components. There was actually, when I was doing the thing, there was one new feature that I found out about that I didn't actually know to do with state files. So yeah, once you've got that certification, it also unlocks certain things that you may not have known about. So those are two that I would strongly recommend. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the AWS equivalent to the fundamentals is, but it's something to do with, what is it? Cloud, DevOps associate or something.
Cloud associate.
Anyway, one of those fundamentals is really good to get your foot in the door to prove that you know what you're doing. But I wouldn't necessarily start with a certificate, if that makes sense. You'd want to use it once, like, to prove to kind of to your employer and to yourself that you're ready. Yep,
makes sense. There's a lot of comments for you, Trent, here. Thanks, that great clarification. Appreciate the answer. Trent really knows what he's talking about and explaining it well. Trent, here we go. You have some fans as well. Perfect. Matthew had a question, but I think we kind of covered it already a bit, but we can maybe expand a little bit on this. He would like to ask about those transitioning from other careers to DevOps. What the career path like for such people?
That it depends on the career path. I'm actually going to ask Matthew, can you give a bit of an example about what career you're transitioning from and to? Because, for example, the answer, say that I'm a software developer. Like I said, figuring out how your application's built, the pipeline that builds it, and that process is going to be a really good in. Whereas if you're a product manager, it'll be a slightly different entry point. So kind of, it's a hard question to answer because there's so many different entry points. Like DevOps encapsulates so many parts of the process. There's the people who release managers who need to know about the DevOps systems to coordinate the releases and make sure the pipelines and the versions of commit histories and everything's correct for the release. There are your, actual pipeline engineers who are sitting there trying to make sure things don't blow up. Like, there's just so many entry points there. It's a hard one.
Yeah. So I think, one of the things we want to discuss that's kind of related to it. So we were talking about, technical skills and certifications, but there is also such a thing like soft skills. Yeah.
Yes.
That really can help you to transition in the career and change your career. So do you think, I know it's probably quite general, but what do you think in terms of the some specific soft skills or interpersonal quality that highly valuable for DevOps roles?
Yeah, so I can actually give a bit of an example. So one of the things that I really struggled with when I first got my first job as a DevOps engineer was communication. Hadn't quite had a role where I was as critically relied upon. There's production releases, there's a lot of things. And so how to effectively communicate both when things are going well, so when you're delivering projects, but also when the house is burning down and you have to tell someone, hey, yeah, either I stuffed up or something stuffed up, and it's going to be really hard. So communication is such a strong asset. It's a very generic one because, communication is key throughout pretty much all industries, but it's something particularly I personally, and I've seen a lot of people in the DevOps industry struggle with, and the ones I've seen who really excel are the ones who really work on that communication skill. And so it's probably one of the most important things is communications and relationship building. How do you build relationships with the people? As a DevOps person, you're going to have a lot of people yelling at you because as soon as something breaks, they'll come running towards you. And so how do you build relationships with people so that when they do come running, it's a, hey, buddy, how you doing? As opposed to, oh, I'm not this guy again. And so how do you build those relationships with the different stakeholders throughout the process is a really key skill and something that I think it's really important to work on.
Okay, we have Anton back. Anton, talk to us. Yes,
right.
We can hear you.
What's the topic? Communication skills and DevOps. That's right.
I think we're just the soft skills. We're talking about is there any particular soft skills you think that really beneficial for DevOps engineers?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm probably going to trace back a little bit to previous question, which is the certification. And I personally, one of my, I guess, worry back in the days that I did Scrum certifications very late in my career. And that's one of the regret, right? Don't make my mistake again. If you have an opportunity to go and do Scrum certifications, have 2 days in a room with real people doing Scrum, learning and putting all those little stickers and a piece of paper on the wall, it is worth it. Yeah. And that boils down, I guess, and assess the whole trajectory into that soft skills area, right? We all probably acknowledge that all the problems have two sides. One is the technical, and it's basically no-brainer to solve. It's like you Google, you probably find a gazillion of solutions how to solve the problem. But then, as Trent said, right, it's not only about technical problem, right? It's equally important to make sure people still coming back to you, still enjoy working with you, and then more importantly, bringing other engineers in the journey, growing together. It's not one-way relationship. No relationship going to be working one way. It's a two-way street. Not only we contributing to other people's success, right, but they also contribute back, and the other way around, right? And here, as probably be compassionate. Yeah, that's probably one of the challenges when people coming from different areas in the DevOps, right? For example, from ops or from software, and unintentionally we got a little bit of a bias, preferring one or the other, and maybe unintentionally we just like, oh, those people somewhere there over the wall, they don't understand what we're dealing with, right? Be nice, be compassionate, get in the other people's shoes, right? And try to just help other people, and it goes a long way, right? Meaningful relationships not only goes here in the current company, in the current day-to-day tomorrow, but they go quite a long way across the companies. Yeah. And then I think here is that one of the ideas that soft skills are important, but also like having different points of view in a team where, for example, Trent coming from ops and he understands that kind of side of the tech, right? Where myself and we've got other engineers in platform engineer squad coming from software area, right? And we can talk to different customers, but we also have people coming not necessarily from security, but having exposure to security, and we can talk and understand other customers, other engineers, other departments. We know how to build relationship, we know the language, we know the pain points, but we can relate to other people's problems. That's the key. Yeah, you solving other people's problems, and you're gonna carry that weight of being guilty for just about everything, as Trent said, all during the DevOps career. Yeah, you are the kind of person to blame for everything in some sense. Of course, I'm just joking here.
Yeah, no, makes sense, and I think that advice goes obviously to basically any position, not only DevOps, but so managing different stakeholders, make sure talking in the people languages, make sure accept people's different backgrounds and opinions. So it definitely takes us a long way with any career progression. So we have quite a few questions coming in. You guys are really popular today with so many questions. So Matthew, actually, Trent, we already talking with Matthew before in terms of where he's transitioning from. So Matthew is actually thinking how he can transition from the non-technical background as a project manager to DevOps. Like what one tip you can give to Matthew if you want to do that transition? Did we mute Trent? Sorry.
Trent, you're on the mute.
Been hit by that classic old thing. I do that all the time at work too. I guess this question also relates to the question by Thangya as well, which is how do you go from the managerial project manager BA type roles where you're working from the project side of it. So one thing that you'll have going in your favor is you'll already have those the soft skills like the communication and the relationship building, which is a really big plus. The thing you'll need to work on is just your technical skills. So you'll just need to read a lot of books, play with a lot of things, and honestly, break a lot of things. So spin up your own test environments, spin up your own, in Azure land, create an Azure DevOps account, create an Azure account, and start deploying things. Create an infrastructure through Terraform, create your application, deploy it, have it deployed, have Hello World pop out the other side of it. It's getting the real practical experience where you've just broken things yourself. That'll be your biggest thing. Once you've kind of got there, you can really start saying, hey, look, here's a thing that I made. Ta-da! Someone pay me to do that.
Yep. And then anything to add to this?
Yeah, Matthew, that's a very good question. And what bothers me right now, why? Why do you want this one? But jokes aside, right? If we Google again, like DevOps roadmap 101, anything of that sort, I think they look intimidating, right? All those charts focusing on 30 different prerequisites from Linux to all other pieces of technologies. And I think that's overlooked because at the end of the day, each company has a handful of critical technology pieces. Yeah, Trent knows where I'm going with. It's a boring technology. Don't be overwhelmed by 20 different tools, maybe latest, greatest. Let's pick maybe 3 to 5, and that's about it, right? Okay, great. Cloud, for example, right? It looks intimidating. 100 services in both Azure, GCP. What is it? AWS. Yeah. In reality, 5, maybe 10 services I used across companies, right? The most common one. I'm oversimplifying, but I'm saying it's not that intimidating. And, master a couple of services is not that complex, right? CI/CD as well. People may be overcomplicating those things, but in a nutshell, build application, build Docker. That's it. Run unit tests. 3 things to worry about, and that's 3. You can count on one hand, right? Don't be intimidated with those ones. And again, I don't disagree with Trent. You've got advantage. You already understand business language. You can communicate. That's fantastic. Just add a little bit of effort in the technical skill set. Fantastic journey. And more importantly, have fun. If you're not passionate, if you're not looking to wake up every day and to do something exciting, what's the point?
Yeah, and I think and Nimisha has sort of questioned that extension of these questions, because she's asking, other than cloud knowledge and scripting skills, what other tools a DevOps engineer would use or need on their day-to-day responsibilities? Yeah, so you mentioned, start with some cloud services, start with the scripting. So anything else that's really important from a technical perspective to learn?
I don't know. I go first.
Oh, you going first this time?
I go first, right? Boils down again to 3 or 5 things you'd like to learn maybe in a short amount of time. If you're transitioning, we all got limited amount of time, right? We've got other priorities. We've got family. We've got things to do outside of work, right? So. And we need to be smart about our investment, right? Again, don't be overwhelmed by 20 technologies. Pick a few, right? If I were to pick, I'm coming from Azure background. I feel good about that one. Great, Azure one. Pick up a couple of services. The most common on the market, Just look up on LinkedIn what's boiling in the job postings. Talk to recruiters. It's not going to be a lot. Yeah, same. For example, second one going to be Terraform, but that's a kind of de facto, I think. Not even to discuss, I guess. Pick one CI/CD platform which is most popular. If Microsoft is going to be Azure DevOps, or probably GitHub. Again, depends on the company, but it's like same thing at the end of the day, right? And then last one, containerization. You need to make a choice here, and I guess it's going to be a pretty hard one, either serverless and everything lambdas and all that kind of baggage, right? Or probably Kubernetes, right? But it's all up to you. And you see, like, we defined 3 buckets and a couple of things in each bucket. It's less than 10 things to start be serious about, let's say, right? It's probably going to be a little bit of opinionated, again, advice from my side, but maybe Trent can add a little bit.
I mean, like, there's a lot of questions coming in. I'm just kind of rushing through that, guys. But let's try it briefly. We have still 10 minutes. Let's briefly try to answer a few questions, quite a few specific questions here. Corin asking, how does DevOps and cloud architect differ? I'm considering my end goal in the concept of career. Can you please elaborate on this?
Okay.
Your turn.
Yeah. So cloud architect, solution architect is one side of the coin, and DevOps is the other. So DevOps is the actual profession of getting code from laptop to production and testing it, much more hands-on. There's a bit of there's a group of the DevOps community that would see a cloud or a solution architect as like the end goal for a DevOps engineer. It's kind of similar. Cloud and DevOps engineer, a cloud architect or a solution architect is kind of like the very hands-off. I'm going to decide the direction of a company. So it's coming at a tech problem from a much more business perspective. Very much so, a good solution architect will understand the business, understand the requirements, the direction, what they want to be doing, and how it all comes together as a group, but will know not that much about tech. Like, they'll rely on other people to give them the information and the low-down details they'll need. Whereas DevOps, you're in the weeds, you've got your lawnmower out, you're hacking and slashing through things to try and get your pipelines working. So those kind of the differences of them. Basically, it's kind of they're just 2 different careers.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think there's additional questions from the quorum as well. What's the starting knowledge that I should have before seeing internship as a DevOps engineer? So what, I guess, the bare minimum we need to try to get into internship? What do you think, guys? Anton, do you want to go?
Yeah, internship, isn't it supposed to be like no prior kind of requirements? Like, yeah, but
I think it's still, there is still some requirements, I think, with internship.
Yeah, look, it's again, it's going to be contextual, right? Which company, which field, which area, right? Maybe a small company, right? Middle-sized company, or maybe tech unicorn like Atlassian, like Canva, right? And then maybe, government or bigger company, a big enterprise, right? Technology stack and problems gonna surface in that kind of maybe 3 to 5 list, which is gonna be prerequisites, or maybe a little bit required, right? So it's very difficult, I guess, to just standardize.
But I think we're coming back to the soft skills. If you want to get a good internship, you really need to be a good communicator, because when we're talking about any sort of entry-level positions, there is a lot of people to one position, and what will help you to stand out is your ability to communicate and talk about what you've done and give your side, talk about your side projects, understanding the business. I think we're probably coming back to that bit.
That comes back to, reminds me, attitude and aptitude, right? And it's overlooked area as well. Trent is smiling because, interviews and technical skills. Well, technical skills can go so far on interviews, right? But as, again, we all kind of agreed, soft skills, attitude, aptitude, go get job done and figure out and just smash everything and be excited about all those things. let's gonna go even further, right? I think that's a good call out. It's my personal experience, but let's say nowadays I'm also on the other side of the fence. I am actually hiring. I'm a hiring manager, and I have had also different hiring experiences, and so I kind of like both sides. Yeah, Trent, for example, we did hire Trent, and
why did you hire Trent,
so
Anton?
why did
did you hire
Trent?
him?
I don't know, Trent. Why did we hire you in the first place? What was your experience, by the way, through interview? And what's your, by the way, what's your experience and feeling on technical skill set versus non-technical skill set, soft skills during the interview? It was like 4 months ago.
Yeah, look, I'd be struggling to remember it. I'm still convinced you hired me because you needed someone to make you look good. No. No, it was interesting, the interview, because the tech interview was actually really basic. I think it was something like take the numbers 1, 2, 3, but in random order, and then you need to print out the written version. So ONETWOTHREE, and it was really simple, but they were very adamant on. I had to talk through everything. I kind of felt like I was a live streamer for the time. It was, hi, I'm going to Google search this. I'm going to do this. And it was actually really interesting because they focused a heck of a lot on attitude and my opinions on things. And so, it's like that. That was how I got hired and stuff. So I guess, a lot of it does come down to attitude.
100%. And I think as more junior position, as more your communication skills and attitude can help you. Because
are easy to teach. Sorry.
Like, I guess there are some positions that someone looking for like a really specific experience in a really particular area, but if we're talking about more like a junior positions, it will come back down to those attitude and communication skills. Subhan is saying, Anton just boosted my motivation to master DevOps by saying it's easy to work with all these fancy tools. Here you go. See, you guys everyone can be a DevOps engineer. And of course, are you hiring at the moment, Anton? I think we're all on the recruitment freeze at the moment.
We already got all the people, unfortunately, but definitely gonna keep in mind. Just reach out on LinkedIn. We'll figure out something and maybe connect you with other people, right? But the junior position versus progressing in a career, I think that just thinking aloud and hearing what Trent and Yana were saying is that it feels maybe, and also my experience as well, right? The passion from junior position is gonna convert and add up into experience later in a career, right? So that's probably one of the overlooked areas as well. So you have passion, you're gonna be unbeatable.
Definitely. I'm cautious about the time. I think we answered basically most of the questions. Shoa has a question, but I think we kind of answered it already. My major is in data science. I learned Java, HTML, C#, Android Studio. What skills do I need to transfer to DevOps? I guess we already mentioned, looking up those top skills that company advertise. That would be the short answer.
I could probably add like a 2-second answer. Learn how to get those tools onto something like another server or onto production via a pipeline. So if you know how to do those things, awesome. Learn how to deploy them and put them in a pipeline.
So that would be the starting point. And I think the last question was here from Tangam. What are the skills does a business analyst need to work in the DevOps development environment? A bit of an off topic, but if you guys have a really quick answer.
Same as in any other environments. That's probably the one-liner.
Nothing too specific about being nothing too specific about being in a DevOps environment, I guess.
No. I think the end goal here is not to implement DevOps as like DevOps for DevOps, or technology for the sake of technology. But what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? We want to deliver faster, quicker. I cannot say cheaper, but with less efforts. We want to have fun. We want to have less boring work, right? This is why Dev and Ops combining, again, developer operations, processes, tooling. But the key here is that collaboration unlocks a lot of things, right? Engineer to engineer collaboration, or facilitation of those conversations, let's say, between people, right? And then technology just catching up with those informal or formal collaboration ways, right? So if as a BA you're looking into that kind of DevOps environment, breakthrough into the environment, help other people to deliver value fast, right? Identify bottlenecks, why there are bottlenecks. Is it technology? Is it people? Is it communications? Is it maybe stonewalling sometimes in the paperwork? Don't talk to me, talk to Jira or like ServiceNow. We all know that stuff, right? And just try to figure out how to optimize that one. So, and look, BA is a kind of serving role as well, because you're working for other engineers. And by the way, what's appealing, I think, looking back in the years, working in the DevOps area or platform engineering, is that our target customer base are the engineers, all right? And that's a super secret. So don't tell that anyone, but we work for other engineers where other, for example, application scores, they work for the business. Think deeply about that one. We are a little bit an advantage because we work for all engineers. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, I'm really cautious about the time. We have 3 minutes left. So I'm going to make an announcement for next week, and it's a giveaway time. So you guys can pick, lucky winners from our participants who can, as the prize, get a 30 minutes virtual chat with you. So while I'm now doing the announcement, scroll through the comments and pick the winner or two, or whatever you prefer. So next week, 11th of October, we're talking about, quite a different topic. We're going to talk about visa pathways for tech professionals in Australia. People ask this question me quite often. So, and I don't know answers, yeah? So I don't do anything to do with sponsorship or anything. So I decided to reach out to Manuela, who actually the visa immigration expert, and she can answer your questions. So if you're in a situation that you need some help with sponsorship or anything like that, so make sure to join our stream next week, 11th of October. And also, guys, I scheduled another face-to-face event in Melbourne. It's not till 18th of November, but make sure to keep an eye on this. So if you want to meet in person, if you want to go for a walk and have fun and meet people from the industry, put it in your calendar now, and I'm looking forward to meet you in the real life. So, guys, did we pick the winner for the virtual coffee chat? Are we picking the one or? Okay. One more hairs. Sorry, we're not supposed to call you by this name. You did tell us your name on the top.
I like that name though. It's a fantastic name.
I mean, it's like Shoy. Sorry, Shoy. So make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn, Jana Martins on LinkedIn, so that we can organize your virtual coffee chat. So you get your prize. So because it's really hard to find you on LinkedIn if we start looking for one or more hairs. Sorry, Shoy. So it's just classic. So please make sure to connect on LinkedIn to get your giveaway. And guys, we have literally 30 seconds left. So what I would like to do for you guys to finish this live stream, how about each of you just share maybe a one top tip for someone who want to progress in their DevOps career. So if you need just to give them one tip, one sentence tip, what would be that top tip? Trent, can you go first?
Yep. All right. I'm going to do one sentence, two things. Be okay with breaking stuff to learn stuff, and build relationships, work on communication.
Perfect. Anton, and what about you?
Yeah, help other people. That's first. Help the company. Just solve real problems, right? And be extremely passionate about those things like Trent. So that's gonna get you hired.
Perfect. You see, guys, nothing about the cloud in these tips. So it's all about people as usual. So the Shoy is saying, thank you, nice to meet you. And he's okay with us to laughing at his YouTube channel. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you. So as I said, make sure to reach out on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, guys. Trent is a trend. Here we go. Love it. Be like Trent, yeah.
The trendsetter.
Perfect. And put it on t-shirt. Here we go. Trent, I think we come up with the new t-shirt. So, Anton, your next birthday, you need to order Trent a t-shirt from Coles. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for energy. Thank you so much for the great questions and the participation. Thank you, guys, for joining. Make sure to like this video, share it with all the inspiring DevOps engineers, subscribe, join the meetup group, whatever else I need to tell you. You know, it's all help us to keep going. And it's also help you to burn the calories when you do the subscribe, you know, press the subscribe button, press another one, you know, it's healthy. It's healthy. So anyway, thank you, everyone. I'll see you on 11th of October.